We often mistake self-doubt for weakness. We think that when we feel uncertain, unqualified, or insecure, something must be wrong with us. But the truth is, self-doubt is not a flaw. It's a feature of being human. It's a signal that you care deeply about what you're doing, that you're aware of the weight of what's at stake. People who don't care never doubt themselves. The very fact that you question yourself means that you want to do something meaningful. And that awareness is the foundation of growth. Think about it. Every person who has ever done something great has felt unsure at some point. The artist staring at a blank canvas, the leader about to speak in front of a crowd, the parent raising a child, the student preparing for an exam. That quiet, unsettling voice that asks, "What if I'm not enough?" is not there to stop you. It's there to remind you that what you're about to do matters. Self-doubt isn't the enemy of success. It's the companion of ambition. The problem begins when we misinterpret it. We believe that confident people don't struggle with insecurity. But confidence is not the absence of doubt. It's the ability to move forward despite it. It's what happens when you learn to listen to that voice, acknowledge it, but not obey it. When you say, "I see you, I hear you, but I'm going to do it anyway." That's courage in its purest form. Every meaningful pursuit will test your confidence. The closer you get to something important, the louder doubt becomes. It's like a shadow. It only appears where there's light. So instead of fighting it, learn to read it. Doubt is trying to protect you from failure, but in doing so, it often keeps you from growth. The irony is that the very fear of falling prevents us from flying. You overcome self-doubt not by proving that voice wrong once and for all, but by showing up again and again despite it. Each time you act, you collect evidence that you are capable, that you can handle discomfort, that your worth is not defined by a single success or failure. Over time, the voice gets quieter, not because it disappears, but because you've learned to trust yourself more than you trust your fear. So the next time you doubt yourself, take it as a sign that you're exactly where you should be, on the edge of something meaningful. Doubt means you're alive, aware, and ready to grow. And that is not weakness. That is strength in disguise. Comparison is a thief dressed as motivation. It whispers that we're not doing enough, not achieving enough, not being enough. We scroll through the lives of others, see their smiles, their successes, their highlights, and we begin to measure our worth against their moments. But the truth is, comparison doesn't inspire growth. It paralyzes it. The more we compare, the more we lose sight of who we are, of what we're building, and of the quiet progress happening within us. The danger of comparison is that it always sets you up to lose. No matter how good you are, there will always be someone seemingly doing better. Someone richer, younger, fitter, louder, or more followed. But those external measures have nothing to do with inner fulfillment. The problem isn't that others are ahead. The problem is that we've started running a race that isn't ours. The moment you start comparing, you stop creating. You stop listening to your own rhythm and begin dancing to someone else's song. The world tells us that validation comes from visibility. We start believing that our worth is tied to numbers. Likes, promotions, applause. But validation is a poor substitute for purpose. When you live for recognition, you hand the steering wheel of your life to strangers. True confidence doesn't come from being the best. It comes from being true to what you value, even when nobody notices. It's easy to forget that every person you admire also compares themselves to someone else. Everyone's fighting their own battle of insecurity. That influencer you envy may envy your peace. That colleague you think has it all might be longing for your courage. We all have blind spots, and comparison only magnifies what we lack while blurring what we already possess. Freedom from insecurity begins when you stop asking, am I as good as them? And start asking, am I better than I was yesterday? Growth is not a competition. It's a commitment. When you measure progress by alignment instead of achievement, by authenticity instead of applause, life becomes lighter. You begin to celebrate others without feeling smaller yourself. The only person you're meant to outgrow is your past self. So stop comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Everyone's timeline is different. What you see as delay may actually be preparation. What looks like failure today may be the foundation of tomorrow's strength. The path you walk was designed for you, not for the crowd. And when you finally embrace that, insecurity loses its power and your journey starts to feel enough because it already is. We all wait for the moment when confidence finally arrives, as if one day we'll wake up fearless, ready, and certain. But that day never comes. Confidence isn't something that magically appears before we act. It's something that's built because we act. The truth is, courage always comes before confidence. You don't become brave by waiting until you feel strong. You become brave by showing up when you feel scared, by doing the thing before you feel ready, and by trusting that you'll learn along the way. Most people spend their lives waiting for the feeling of confidence. And in doing so, they never move. They say, once I feel sure, I'll start, or when I know I can do it, I'll try. But confidence is not a prerequisite, it's a reward. Every time you take a step into uncertainty, every time you risk failure, every time you speak up despite trembling hands, that's how confidence is built. It's earned through repetition, not revelation. Think about a child learning to walk. They don't wait to feel ready. They wobble, they fall, they cry, and then they stand again. That's courage in its rawest form. They don't yet have confidence. They have instinct. The instinct to move forward despite falling. Somewhere along the way, as adults, we lose that instinct because we start fearing judgment more than failure. We start fearing mistakes more than stagnation. But courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to keep going in spite of it. Courage is taking a step while your mind screams, don't. It's saying yes to growth even when every cell in your body prefers comfort. Each small act of courage adds a brick to the foundation of confidence. Over time, those small acts become evidence that you can trust yourself. The most confident people you know aren't fearless, they're practiced. They've failed more times than you've tried. They've felt insecure, but acted anyway. They've learned that confidence doesn't mean being certain. It means being willing to risk embarrassment, willing to look foolish, willing to start again. If you wait until you feel confident, you'll wait forever. The only way to feel ready is to start before you are. The only way to silence fear is to prove through action that it doesn't control you. So take the step. Say the word. Begin. Not because you're sure, but because you're willing. Confidence isn't born in the absence of fear. It's born in the presence of courage. And that, more than anything else, is what transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones. There comes a point when self-doubt becomes exhausting. We try to fight it with affirmations, with pep talks, with pretending to be stronger than we feel. But the truth is, self-belief doesn't grow by focusing on ourselves. It grows when we focus on something larger than ourselves. Purpose has a way of silencing that inner critic. When your why becomes clear, your fears begin to lose their voice. The human mind is an incredible storyteller, and its favorite story is often, "You're not enough," but purpose changes the narrative. It shifts your focus from, "What if I fail?" to, "What impact can I make?" When you're working for something bigger, something that matters, the fear of failure transforms into fuel. You stop asking how good you are and start asking how much you can contribute. That simple shift changes everything. When your actions serve a purpose beyond ego, doubt has less power. It's like light entering a dark room. The darkness doesn't disappear because it was defeated. It disappears because it was replaced. The more you live for meaning, the less you live for approval. Purpose anchors you. It becomes your compass in moments of confusion. Your stability when everything else feels uncertain. Many of us are insecure because we've tied our worth to achievement. We measure our value by how others see us. But purpose frees you from that trap. You start realizing that the question isn't, am I successful? But am I useful? When your work comes from service rather than self-promotion, insecurity becomes irrelevant. You're no longer performing, you're contributing. And contribution breeds confidence. The most fulfilled people aren't necessarily the most talented. They're the most devoted. They wake up knowing why they do what they do. Their sense of direction makes them resilient. They still face doubt, of course, but they don't dwell on it because they're too busy doing the work. Their purpose becomes their armor. If you want to quiet the voice of insecurity, stop trying to prove your worth. Instead, start serving a cause, an idea, a mission that deserves your energy. Pour yourself into something that outlives your fear. When you act with purpose, the question, am I good enough, fades into the background, replaced by, what difference can I make today? Purpose gives meaning to effort, direction to struggle, and courage to the uncertain. It transforms the noise of doubt into the music of contribution. And when that happens, your insecurity no longer defines you. It refines you. Because in serving something greater than yourself, you finally meet the best version of yourself. We all crave perfection because we think that once we achieve it, our insecurities will disappear. We chase flawless results, perfect timing, and unshakable confidence, believing that's when we'll finally feel good enough. But perfection isn't the goal, it's the trap. The more we chase it, the further we drift from reality. The antidote to self-doubt isn't perfection, it's progress. Growth, not flawlessness, is what builds genuine self, belief. Confidence doesn't arrive in one grand moment. It's built quietly through the repetition of small steps. Each time you show up despite uncertainty. Each time you try again after failing. You send a message to yourself, for I am capable. Over time, those small victories become evidence, and that evidence becomes belief. Progress turns into proof, and proof silences the voice of doubt more effectively than any motivational quote ever could. We often overestimate the importance of big wins and underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. The truth is, the person who improves by 1% every day becomes unrecognizable in a year. But the person who waits for the perfect moment never moves. It's not the size of your progress that matters. It's the direction. As long as you're moving forward, even imperfectly, you're winning. Self-doubt feeds on inaction. When you pause too long to question your worth, that voice inside you grows louder. But when you act, even clumsily, it weakens. Movement is the medicine. You can't think your way into confidence. You can only act your way into it. The first step is always the hardest because it lacks evidence. But that's exactly why it's so powerful. It's an act of faith. Progress doesn't mean you'll stop failing. It means you'll stop fearing failure. You'll begin to see mistakes not as proof of inadequacy, but as part of the process. Every stumble becomes a teacher, every setback a stepping stone. The people who achieve lasting confidence are not those who avoid falling, but those who keep rising. The irony of perfection is that it kills growth. The pursuit of being flawless keeps you from being real. True confidence is not standing tall because you never fall. It's standing again every time you do. It's built on humility, persistence, and the courage to try one more time. So don't wait until everything feels right to start. Start where you are, with what you have, and keep moving. Confidence is not born in the absence of mistakes. It's born in the presence of progress. Every step, no matter how small, rewires your belief system. And one day, without realizing it, you'll look back and see that the person who once doubted has quietly become the person who leads.